Hey friends, so it's been a little bit of time since we've had ourselves a walk and talk. So come have a walk with me. I wanted to talk with you about something that's kind of been on my mind this weekend, namely dance and me and poi. Drex here from DrexFactor.com, bringing you poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And today I'm doing just a little bit of a vlog talking to you about why dance has become such a big part of my poi experience and why I think it ought to be for more people as well. And before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flow Toys, Pyroterra Light Toys, LMF Props, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these amazing companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I've got down in the description of this video. So I think it's safe to say that roundabouts like probably 5 years ago, there was a noticeable change in direction on my channel. Namely, I started investing more and more time in the dance side of things with poi and less time on the tech side of things, which is not to say that I stopped doing tech stuff entirely. There are definitely still tutorials and some of the harder tricks on there, but I also really pushed myself further into the territory trying to teach others how to dance as I was learning how to do it too. Now there is a bit of a backstory here because I wasn't always so dance focused in my style. In fact, if you go back and watch probably the first 5 or 6 years of my channel, what you'll primarily find is me focusing on coming up with a new trick to show off every week. The tech blog that was, I would say, probably the initial point of interest for a lot of people in my channel. Now, the thing is that throughout this period, while I was producing a lot of content and it was definitely helping me get my name known and everything, there was something that I was always really insecure about, and that was my ability to move with the poi. Because it was one of those things that I could see the way I was moving, and it was so awkward that it was interrupting my enjoyment of watching myself spin and doing the tricks and everything. Some of the tricks were there, but the body mechanics just weren't. And so I embarked on what I think is probably the single most challenging project I have ever done as an adult. I tried to learn how to dance. Namely, there was a local dance studio that I was teaching at that they had a deal wherein if you were teaching, you could also take any class free of charge. So purely because it was the way my schedule worked out, I wound up taking the intermediate modern dance class and getting my ass handed to me every single week for 4 solid months. And I mean, it was bad. Not only did I have no background in dance whatsoever, I wasn't very flexible because I spent almost all of my adult life sitting at a computer programming. And to make matters worse, I'm 6 feet tall. So I definitely had gravity working against me in a lot of in a lot of circumstances. Plus which, I didn't have an understanding of the vocabulary. I had a lot of bad days when I was first learning how to dance, and I really appreciate my teacher, Kelly King, then Kelly Mayfield, who was extraordinarily patient with me during this time and encouraged me, even on days when we both know I hadn't done very well. And that was the beginning of a good 6-year period where not only was I taking dance classes regularly, but I was also dancing in a pre-professional troupe. I did, I think, 5 or 6 seasons with the troupe and danced in quite a number of concerts. It was definitely one of my more formative experiences as an artist, not just because I started learning how to express things through my body, which I had never done before, but also because it taught me a lot about working in a dance ensemble. So 6 years of dance, and then all of a sudden all the pieces fell into place and I could poi dance in a way that made me think that I looked less awkward. Nope, that is not how the story ends. Because see, taking those dance lessons was just a way for me to begin the work of learning how to express myself with my body, learning how to tell a story, taking the same choreography and showing how to express it through happiness or sadness or anger. All of these were tools that I was in the process of learning, but actually applying them to poi and prop spinning in general was kind of a difficult process because while I could understand the basics of these techniques and everything, actually applying them to moving with a prop is not something that I was really being taught in dance class. And I would venture to say that that is a class that nobody out there really knows how to teach because there's not really a organized school of thought around it. And so with the most difficult challenge of my adult life under my belt, it was time for the real work to begin. Namely, I had to figure out how to integrate my dance with my prop spinning. This is not an easy process. And at first, it was like a really, really messy process too. I had a proclivity towards like putting together shapes with my body and everything, and that was something that I was relatively comfortable with. Then, of course, there was getting some basics down, like learning how to pirouette with the tools and everything. But by and large, an understanding of fully integrating dance with the prop, it was something that still eluded me, and something that it was still going to take me a long time to get to a point where I could do something that I felt like I was worthwhile. And this took a lot of trial and error, and I mean a lot. It meant like just working almost daily on trying to find ways of putting together the prop and my body movement and everything. And this is still an ongoing process. It is something that some days I feel like things fall together really easily, and some days I'm just like looking at myself doing a bunch of tricks that have been strung together and being all like, what can I do to make this more interesting? And feeling almost like I'm trying to graft two materials that are fundamentally unalike onto each other. So why do I keep doing it? Why is this a mission that I chose for myself? Well, the answer to that might surprise you. See, the thing is, now poi spinning means something radically different to me than it did even 5 years ago. You know, I definitely gravitated towards poi spinning because, like, of the gotta catch 'em all attitude with poi tricks and everything. As soon as I understood that tech poi was something that I could get into and really dive deep on and everything, I dove deep. I really pushed what I could do with that kind of old school style of geometric poi spinning and everything. And that's still kind of my bread and butter to this day. But here's the thing, like, you know, I've always had that experience where if I'm out practicing and training and working on something for a couple hours, at the end of the day, I'm feeling really mellow and focused and everything. But, and there's a big but coming, you know, it's one of those things that even if I feel like I've accomplished something for the day, if I've gotten down a new trick, if I have put a couple things together in a way that I didn't know that I could before, there's definitely a feeling of satisfaction. But I don't feel like that has done anything to necessarily connect the dots of my day together. See, there's an entirely new process that has happened as I've been working on integrating my poi and dance. And that is that at the end of a day, rather than spending a whole bunch of time drilling down new tricks and everything, which, you know, sometimes I do that still, but instead what I'll do is I'll put on a piece of music and I will just express through my body how I'm feeling about the day that I just had. What's going on in my head? What are the questions that I still have about the world around me? And, you know, probably most important of all, just giving myself a chance to digest whatever I happen to feel and think about the world around me. And it's wild because now that this is a part of my life, I cannot possibly imagine how in God's name I was able to process the world around me without it. Like going outside and getting in a bit of flow for an hour or so, like having that moment in the music where I connect with whatever I happen to be feeling that day, whether it be frustration or excitement or like a little bit of sadness or what have you. Being able to feel and emote that through my body is one of those ways that I can recognize it, and one of those ways in which, you know, I can really start to process it. One of those ways in which I can start to move on from whatever happens to have happened and everything. And there's a part of me that thinks about all the people out there who are like training their tools and everything. And, you know, yeah, there's a sense of satisfaction that you probably get out of that and everything. But I wonder how they process their days, like whether they have art in their lives in some other way, whether they're painting or what have you, or whether it's just something that they just don't have any real way to process. And, you know, I'll be real with you. It's hard to think about this and not think of some of the gendered implications of it, you know? Like, it's one of those things that, you know, I definitely feel like as I've gone through the flow arts and everything, that the idea of focusing on dance and flow and everything is something that feels much more feminine. Talking about how I'm feeling and trying to express that through movement and everything feels like a very feminine way of approaching the tool. Whereas, of course, the more masculine way of going about it is learning all of the tricks, learning the hardest tricks and everything. And, of course, nobody asks somebody who is like a virtuoso with poi how they feel about what they're doing with it, you know? And I think that that's a shame. And I think that that is one of those ways in which we as an art form have a lot of room to grow still. I've always said that the thing I most want to see with poi dance is somebody moving with the poi as though it is an extension of their body, as though it is just another expressive tool for them, that there is no difference between the poi and themselves, that whether they happen to be expressing a given feeling or mood or idea through their body, that the poi just becomes a part of that, rather than this thing that is other, rather than this thing that you have a relationship with. When I see the thing that I really, really want to see, it usually looks like somebody who is treating the prop as though it is part of themselves. And seriously, it is at the point for me now where getting to dance at the end of the day is an essential part of it for me. It is an essential part of kind of winding down and understanding how I'm feeling about the day that I just had. And I really wouldn't trade that for anything. And I know that it was somewhat controversial when I switched over from primarily being a tech-based artist to a dance-based artist. And to be fair, that transformation has happened like kind of broadly over time and everything rather than all at once. But it's one of those things that it did not go unnoticed. And I've had more than a few people give me feedback of wondering why I left the tech world behind, which I don't think I entirely did. I definitely switched over to some tricks that by and large take much, much, much longer to learn. So it's comparatively rare that I have new stuff to show off there. But I've also made dance and flow such an explicit focus of what I work on now that it feels very much to people like I've kind of switched teams in some ways. And it's funny because while I've had people call me out on that, I've also had people looking at some of my more recent flow dance videos and being like, oh, I get it now. Like, you're doing something really cool here. And those moments honestly mean quite a lot to me. So the moral of the story here, learning how to dance, and especially learning how to dance with my props, while it is one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life, it is also one of the things for which I am the most grateful. It is now an integral way of how I spend my day and an integral way of how I am able to process and work through whatever I happen to be feeling on a given day too. So for those of you who are willing and interested to take the plunge, I highly recommend doing it because it leads to healthier brains and healthier bodies. And if you are one of those who has looked at my transition into the dance world and everything and kind of scoffed at it and talked about, you know, how much better it would have been if I'd gone into poi juggling or like deeper into the manipulation world and everything, you're free to your opinion, but I think I made the right choice. And, you know, for the record, you should give it a try. You don't know what you're missing. Awesome. So, thanks for listening to me rant about poi dance for a little while. I appreciate it. This is definitely not necessarily what I thought my video today was going to be on. If you dug it though, please make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe so that other people can find it and hopefully learn something from it as well. And of course, I just want to put a huge thank you out there to my wonderful supporters on Patreon, without whom this video would not be possible. They make this video and all the videos on my channel possible. Thank you so very much. And if you, dear friend, would like to sign up to support the work that I'm doing, please head on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and sign up. You can get early access to all of my content, as well as a say in what topics I tackle in the future. So go check that out. Cool. So with all that said, I'm gonna go get my poi dance on, because it feels like it's about that time of the day. Thanks for walking with me, and I'll see you again soon. Peace.